Could get crazy. We'll find out. All right, we're keeping an eye on the 134 freeway. Paul Joseph is with us. Paul, what's going on? Is
Dave.
it Go Kings? Dave Joseph. What am I saying? Dave, is it still Go Kings Go on the 134? Oh yeah, it's unbelievable out there, man.
Okay.
Just crazy.
He's mad because he called him Paul.
Paul. Hey, Dave, you there? So what's going on with the 134? Any updates?
Did you call me Paul Josephs?
I did.
That's funny. I know Paul. I know of Paul Joseph.
I know a Paul Joseph too. I think
we know the same Paul Joseph.
What does your Paul Joseph do?
He's a friend of a mutual friend of ours.
Oh, okay, all right. But
Same
what
Paul Joseph?
I know Paul Joseph in television.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe the same Paul Joseph. That's
the same one. Yeah.
All right. What's going on with the 134? What do you say? What do you know?
Well, it's there's 4 different crashes actually.
Oh no.
So you got the 134 westbound at the 5. All lanes are blocked, and you're stopped from Glendale Avenue. Then on the eastbound side of the 134, you've got the crash at San Fernando Road. That's got the center lane blocked. You're stop and go from Forest Lawn. Then on the 5 northbound at Colorado Street, the right lane is blocked. You're stop and go from the 2. And then we just had another one, but I think it just cleared on the 5 southbound. So that's 5 southbound at the 134. Crash blocks the center lane, and you're slow from Alameda. So good luck if you're on the 5 or the 134 tonight.
That sucks, man. That really is a crazy area tonight.
Hope you pack
it
your
usually
lunch.
is, though. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Dave Joseph. Thank you very much, buddy.
It's Timmy time. Bet your ass. Timmy. Timmy. He's a little lamb with a lot to learn. He's always having such a lot of fun, Timmy. Timmy. Little lamb with a lot to learn. It's Timmy time.
Yes. KFI AM 640. It is the Conway Show. And we're about to get hit with a lot more restrictions on what we can and cannot do here in the great state of California. It's weird how we're getting the second part of the first wave when these are the states, Oregon, California, and Washington. I mean, we're the states that really are not fighting the mask rule. You go.
Salesforce presents a mini meditation. Unplug your mind, Minneapolis, leaving all your devices to their own devices. Ignore your smartphones, headphones, tablets, gadgets. Let them all recharge so you can refocus on your customer. On your path to customer success, focus your teams with a single 360-degree view of your customer with Salesforce Customer 360. Find customer focus at salesforce.com/360.
At Papa Murphy's, we handle all the steps it takes to make fresh pizza.
Oven ready, clear for bake-off in 10.
We need
9,
fresh dough.
8.
Shred fresh
7,
mozzarella.
6,
and add the sauce and
5,
toppings for you.
4,
So you can
3,
skip right to the good
2,
part.
1, bake-off!
For a limited time, get the Combo Magnifico Pizza with giant pepperoni, sausage, mushrooms, and onions for just $8. And enjoy a pizza that's out of this world.
Beautiful.
Papa Murphy's. Change the way you pizza.
Down south, like Alabama, Arkansas, and people are like, screw it with the mask. But not a lot of people here in Southern California. I don't see a lot of people maskless. And so it's kind of odd that we're getting punished for this. But it's the new move, and we're all going to pay for it. But I was looking at the COVID deaths because I want to see why they're closing everything down here in the United States. Well, not United States, I guess the Western United States. And I looked up California, and there were 32 deaths. What's the date today? Is today the 12th? I think it is, right? Or 13th. There were 32 deaths, and we're going to close up the entire state over 32 people. But then I want to look at Oregon as well and see what they're doing up there. Because Oregon, I always thought that Oregon was like, it's spread out. It's pretty cool. There's not a lot of, there's not a lot of people who live in Oregon. And so I looked it up on November 12th, which is the very last day they have for deaths in Oregon. 2 people died. 2. It's like it's like Brian Regan, If you look at on the side of a package of Fig Newtons, the serving size is two cookies, and he has a great run on that. Like who decided 2 cookies? He goes, I didn't buy the sleeve, maybe 2 sleeves. But anyway, Oregon had 2 deaths on November 12th, and then if you go way back to November 11th, right, the day before, they had 5. The day before that, they had 3. And then day before that, they had 8. And then on November 8th, they had 1. One person died in the entire state of Oregon on November 8th. One single person died of COVID. Just one. Not that guy and another guy. One guy. Maybe one gal, but one person. And they're going to close down the entire state. Doesn't that seem to be a huge overreaction, right? And I understand that hospitals are, filling up. Don't really believe that, but that's what they tell us, right? But where is this going? I mean, is this some kind of like weird takeover of this country? And when you look at the deaths and you see on November 8th that one person died in Oregon, and yet you're going to run a lot of people out of business, it might be an overreaction to have one person die. Look, it's very close to 0. It's as close as you can get to 0 without being 0 when one person dies. And yet that's the day they announced there's going to be more restrictions. So I don't know. I mean, I hate to be get into conspiracy theories and stuff, but there's something else going on. There's got to be. Because all this big reaction on what we can and cannot do, closing down businesses, Disneyland just said it's over. They're not going to open up for the rest of the year. So it'll be at least January until anything at Disney opens up. And it's just weird. It's just odd. And people are desperate. I'm watching a guy on TV today where he took his truck, tied a chain to the metal gate of an AM/PM and just ripped the metal gate off. And then you see all these videos coming in of people ripping off ATMs. The newest big heist out there is to, come around midnight, 1 a.m., grab a chain, tie it around an ATM, and drive off. And right in the middle of a city, of a huge city, they're taking these big ATMs, loading them up in vans, and hauling them away. Now, I don't know if there's any, chips in those things that can tell where they are. There should be. Right? There should be GPS locators of where they are in case somebody does that. But the reason why they're taking the ATMs are loaded with cash. And there's sometimes $30,000, $40,000, or $50,000 in an ATM. And this guy that owns a deli, the Yankee Deli in New York, they ripped off the metal screen of his deli. Then they ripped the ATM out of his deli. And now he probably has, $40,000 or $50,000 worth of damage to his restaurant. And the ATM's gone, right? And they want to call for less cops in New York City, less cops to patrol. That's why these guys aren't afraid to do this. Normally you wouldn't see a rash of people taking ATMs because you're going to get thrown in the CELL when you take an ATM. And so people know that. But now that there's less cops, and fewer cops, then they don't care. They become very brazen and take off with that kind of stuff. You're going to see a lot more of it. You're going to see a lot more of it in Los Angeles as well, because L.A. decided to reduce the LAPD budget by $150 million. So LAPD said, okay, we can do that, but we're going to reduce service because we can't operate at a loss of $150 million without either letting some people go or reducing service. And so they're going to close down the sexual assault unit that they have. And it's a very specialized unit in getting, bringing prosecution and charges against people who are raping and sexually abusing people. And they're going to have to roll that back. Plus, if you get into a car accident and you call the cops, in L.A., you live in the city of Los Angeles, they're not coming out. I don't know whether that starts in January or not. I was reading it online, but they're not going to respond to traffic accidents. You're going to have to figure that out yourself when you get in an accident. You have to figure out who did what, who was wrong, who was right, where what's the information for your insurance, your license. That's all going to be on you now. If the guy gets pissed that you ran into him and he's getting a little, pushy with you, maybe the cops will come out, but probably not, right? Because they don't have enough people. Their budget's being reduced. And the mayor of Los Angeles reduced that budget, $150 million. And then the moment he's offered a job in the Biden administration, he's gone. He destroyed this city that over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And as soon as Biden offers him a job, he's gone. And a lot of people seem to do that to L.A. They come in, they screw up the city, or they screw up a school, and then they take off. Another good example is Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll cheated for a long time with USC in their recruiting and paying players. And then the moment the heat came down on him, he was gone. He left for Seattle because he knew that there's going to be a lot of heat, suspensions, and maybe even thrown out of college sports altogether. And these guys, they come in, they screw up the city or they screw up a school, and they're gone. And that's what happened with L.A. It's happened to USC, and nobody really seems to care. Nobody really seems to care that Pete Carroll screwed up the USC for a long time, and they really haven't been competitive since then. Right? He really hammered him with the whole Reggie Bush thing. And if you go to USC, you're missing out because that used to be a powerhouse in football every single year. Top 10, fighting for a title. And now it just sucks, right? And it's just not very good. And we don't really have a good football city anymore. UCLA is trying to make a little comeback. But we used to have two great football teams in this town. USC and UCLA was a great big rivalry. Two great sports teams. And now it's just, who cares? When they do the USC-UCLA game, there's just not the same vibe there as there used to be. It just isn't. And I don't know if it comes in waves or not, but when I was growing up here in the city, I never remember a time when that wasn't a big game, when it was on every news station, everybody wanted to look at it, everybody wanted to go to it. That was a big deal in this town. And now, like in the last 3 or 4 years, somebody might say to you, hey, what about the USC-UCLA game? And you go, oh, yeah, when is it? It was 2 days ago. Oh, really? Oh, I missed that. Oh, who won? I don't know. Nobody cares. It's crazy. There's a real great sense of apathy in this town. And, for fixing anything like the homeless issue or making the city better, nobody really is out there fighting to do it. They're fighting to make it worse is what they're doing. Ding dong! KFI AM 640. It's Conway Show. Dave Coons is the car guy over at ABC Channel 7. And he's with us. Dave, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, Timmy. Apologize for the technical snafu. It was all on my end, so glad to be with you now.
Hey, how long have you been over at ABC?
I actually started there getting coffee and getting scripts for Jerry Dunphy when I was in college. And I've been doing the auto beat for almost 20 years now.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I remember Jerry Dunphy. I remember, wasn't it Jerry Dunphy from the desert to the sea to all of Southern California? Good evening.
That was him. Then the other thing I used to do is I used to take a booth copy down to your buddy Ernie Anderson, who was one of the booth announcers from time to time.
Yeah, Ernie, man. I was watching old commercials from the 80s the other day, and his voice was so effing much better than everybody else in the business.
He would do the network promos in one building, and he would do, his Love Boat and all that kind of stuff. And then he would come over, and occasionally he would just do a booth shift, for KABC because he was on call. And so you'd take him this copy, and he'd be in the booth there, and he'd they'd play a commercial for like a movie, and he'd say, now playing at the Avco Westwood. And that was it, and then he'd go back and read a newspaper or something.
But you remember the old way, they had to punch in, and he had to time it perfectly.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, our open was a live read. And so what they would do is they'd have the script, and it would be, Eyewitness News with Jerry Dunphy, Christine Lund. And then they would fill in, kind of the sports guy's different tonight or whatever else. But, boy, he never missed a beat when he read that copy. He knew what he was doing. Yeah,
he was the best, man. If you ever want to look up one of the greats of all time, if not the greatest of all time, Ernie Anderson, check him out on on YouTube. So, Dave, what's all the new cars are out?